Welcome to Training Tuesday, my dirty girls. We are here. It is 6 o'clock on the East Coast, and we're ready to talk about communication tonight. So, it's Tuesday night. We're just starting the week, and I'm wondering already on a Tuesday, how many times have your expectations maybe not quite been met? Not yet. Maybe somebody's follow through fell short. Maybe they delivered something that was just completely different than what you expected. But tonight we're talking about the fifth obstacle that we want to smash in our quest for getting the recognition and respect that you deserve. So this Training Tuesday series has been for the past several weeks about 5 blocks we're smashing, and block number 5 is tonight. And that's the block around communication, how we communicate and how our expectations and our assumptions around our communication are often the block that we have to smash. So I want to talk about expectations, what happens when they're not met, things like that. Understanding that, digging deeper into that, getting underneath that is what's going to help us smash this block so that going forward, it's not just that our expectations are clear or that we've communicated them well. It's also that we understand what other people expect from us and where the gap is. Because sometimes when we just know where the gap is, we get a much better sense of what's happening in this dynamic. And we can adjust our expectations accordingly, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So, to get started here, I had 2 stories, well 3 kind of that I wanted to share with you. 2 stories to share and a question to ask. How about that? We'll do that. So I can remember being, gonna say I was 15 at the time, and had a long time friend who was a friend of my grandmother's. So my entire life growing up, I spent most of my summer vacations with my grandmother in the lovely dry heat of Arizona, and I know they're sweltering out there these days, but as we are across the country. But one of my grandmother's friends was this lovely woman named Vi, who was a teacher in her past career. She was retired. She was the same age as my grandmother. She was also an avid scuba diver. And she had these amazing cases in her house. These beautiful, I don't know how to describe them. Like they looked like a buffet table, or like almost like a bar, right, with doors that close. But inside were drawers and drawers and drawers, and in the drawers were all these shells and all these things that she had collected over her years and years of scuba diving. And so my brother and I would go visit with her, and she would share them with us and tell us about them. And then she'd take us to lunch or take us to the movies. And so from when I was little up until I was a teenager, I knew her and spent a lot of time with her. And I can remember that I think it was Christmas. It's hard to know in Arizona because it was always just hot, but I'm pretty sure it was Christmas that I was there visiting. And she gave my mother and I Christmas presents. And it wasn't consistent. She sometimes gave us presents. She sometimes didn't. It was no big deal. But my expectation and my assumption, given who she was, and given our experiences with her, was that I was going to get some sort of really cool sort of shell abalone related thing, right? And I'm 15, so shiny glittery things are cool. These were my expectations. When I opened the box, what I got was a nightgown in the style of Little House on the Prairie. And what her expectation was that what she told me was that she had seen some teenage girls out at some point, and they had taken nightgowns like these, and they had belted them and worn them over leggings. This is the 80s, so do you know the stirrup? You guys remember the stirrup pants leggings? Those. And I remember being 15, being a little shell-shocked when I got that gift, because there was no shells in it. It was nothing to do with shells or the sea or scuba diving. And it was this cotton nightgown that I looked at and thought, I'm never going to wear this, right? How many times do you get a gift and the first question that pops in your head is, holy cow, this is what they think of me? So not to be ungrateful, because that's a reminder of what? Somebody gave you a gift. Somebody thought of you. And what we forget sometimes is even in the way they think of us, it's coming from their point of view. It's coming from their perspective, right? So when we get gifts that we feel like don't align with who we are or what we'd like from people whom we think should know better even, we're forgetting that there's always a gap between people. We're always separate human beings, and there's a gap between not only their perception of us, but their perception of what we'd like, because it's often colored by what they would like. This was absolutely a nightgown I know that Vi owned. She had to, I've seen her in them. Same style things that she would wear as muumuus and kind of day dresses when she wasn't leaving the house. So I knew that. So that's a personal example, right? In a work example, though, and you guys who have been on Training Tuesdays before have heard me tell this story. You know, I worked really hard on a project that I knew was going to be very public. I had done it because I was looking for the career advancement. I was looking for the recognition. And at the end of the day, I had given up so many weekend hours and so much family time that what I was really looking for was some sort of bonus in my paycheck and some days off. Because what I valued was my time, which I had given to the project, and I valued money in my paycheck. I had a young family. I was raising 3 kids, right? So that's what I valued. What I got from my boss was a tombstone, a plaque that said, "Yay, good job," and a public email that went out to the entire company saying, "Natalie did a great job," which, not knocking plaques, and I'm grateful for the recognition, but it wasn't what I wanted. My expectation wasn't met about how I should be recognized and rewarded for the work I had done. And I think back about, did I communicate well to my boss what I expected? Did he give me what he thought I wanted? Did he give me what he would have liked? Because I had a coworker on the team who had participated in the project. She worked for me. She was thrilled with the plaque, with the tombstone. It was her first tombstone, so it was a real sign of kind of business advancement, participating in something important. She was thrilled with the public recognition. It meant more people in the company knew her. I was doing it for their career advancement, yes, to show that I could put together such a complex project, but I wanted time off and I wanted a bump in my paycheck. So again, missed expectations. The challenge with missed expectations when it comes to your personal or your professional relationship is what? The challenge is that disappointment leads to dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction can lead to a lot of other things. It can lead to resentment. It can lead to, especially at work, lack of productivity, right? Lack of inspiration. Can lead to job hunting. It can lead to gossiping. It can lead to guilt because we're gossiping and we're job hunting, right? So it can lead to a lot of negative stuff. And what we need to remember, what's important for us to remember in all of this, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, but just to frame it up front, the reason why we're talking about this is because when we're walking into in a situation where there are expectations and assumptions, expectations about what we want or what the other person wants, assumptions about what they want or what we think is valuable, we forget that there's 3 separate components to this type of interaction. The first piece of it is intention. What is their intention? What was the intention of Vi in giving me a gift? What was the intention of my boss of giving me a plaque? There's intention. The second component, though, is expectation. So intention is theirs, expectation is yours. What was my expectation given this situation? Those are 2 separate pieces of one situation. And then the third piece is the outcome. And the key to remember is that whether the outcome aligns with your expectations and assumptions or not, the outcome is theirs. How you receive it is up to you. But what they choose to do in that moment of recognition and respect is up to them. Whether they understood your expectations and assumptions, whether they heard them, whether they chose purposefully to ignore them, whether they had no idea. That's on them. The only part of that we can do is control how we respond. And how we respond is by remembering what was their intention. Because what was Vi's intention in giving me the nightgown? It was because she wanted me to feel like I was one of the cool kids, because somewhere she saw teenage girls in their stirrup pants and their belted nightgowns out in the mall. The intention of my boss was to give me recognition and reward for the work I had done. He had just done it in a way that was of value to him, not necessarily of value to me. So, going to start with framing that for the rest of our conversation. But before I go on, I want to say hello. My name is Natalie Hahn, and if you've been on Training Tuesdays before, you know that. And if you haven't, welcome. I am CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting. I'm thrilled to have you here tonight. We are here every Tuesday night, except when I'm on vacation, which I was last week, which is a whole other story about expectations and assumptions. By the way, I should use that. If we have time to chat at some point, I can tell you. My whole vacation last week was about differing expectations. So it happens, and it impacts the way we communicate, the way we behave. And the way we communicate and behave impacts what? How we show up at work, how we relate to people, how we connect or don't connect, and the whole trajectory of our career path. It's all about relationships and where we are in this, how we place ourselves. So, welcome to Training Tuesday. Tonight's topic is obstacle number 5 in this 5 obstacle series we've been talking about, smashing blocks to help you get to recognition and respect. And I see that Jill is here, Joyce is here, Jackie's here. So hello, ladies. I see you. Thank you for commenting and saying hello. And please do in the chat. If you're new, say hello. Introduce yourself. Tell me where you're from. Some of the ladies who are here tonight, all the ladies that have said hello so far, I have seen before. I am very happy that you guys have joined tonight. Welcome to the middle of summer. It is hot around here. So, let's see. Buying gifts is hard. Like unicorn onesie, hoodie, PJs. Yes. Right. We get gifts sometimes, or somebody says something to us sometimes, and you kind of sit back and go, is that who you think I am? And that's when we have to remember that sometimes it's not about who they think we are. Sometimes it's about who they think they are. Or it's their interpretation of something that we've said or done that gives them that idea. So what do I mean by that? When somebody looks at you as, say, being very modern and very chic, then the gift they might give you represents their interpretation of modern and chic, not yours. You may be very modern and chic. They nailed that. They got that right. But the gift you got was their version of it, not yours. Sometimes when it comes to how we react with other people, it's because we react to them or we respond to them or we recognize them in a way that worked in the past. So, for example, doesn't happen so much anymore, but for a long time, well into my 20s and probably 30s, gifts I got from my mom had sparkles and rhinestones and things like that on them. Because as a teenager, I was all about the glitter. Rhinestones and sequins. I had a denim jacket that I had sewn sequins like all over the place. And so well into my adulthood, I was still getting gifts that had that kind of bling on it that only look good if you're in your teenage years or over 75. It's kind or in Vegas, and I was none of those things. So, but she was locked into a version of me that she knew. A version of me that she knew and that she bought clothes for. So she just kept buying clothes for that person. See? So we always have to remember when it comes to how people respond to us, how they recognize us, how they reward us, it comes from their perspective. We have to remember, too, that the biggest reason for the gap is values. It's our values. The way we value things, the way we interpret and define things are different from everyone else's. So Joyce came forward with the unicorn onesie hoodie PJs. So Joyce, my question is, have you just seen those, or did somebody actually give you those? I want to say somebody gave you those because I feel like you might have mentioned those before. And I am curious, put in the chat if you're willing to share what is the gift you got. Not the worst gift, because they're not necessarily bad gifts, but that was just the furthest from who you were. The furthest gift from who you are, that you truly looked at that and went, this is who they think I am? What does this mean? What does this say about me? I would love to hear just what some of the funky gifts you are. You guys all heard my shower head story. You know I got that. So in truth, showers are important to me. So I suppose that's not a terrible gift. I just shared with you a gift about the nightie. I got the nightgown that I was apparently supposed to wear over my leggings with a belt. Trying to think of other gifts I've gotten that I've kind of looked at and went, I don't know about that. But I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure they are out there. We all get them. So here's what I want us to talk about tonight then. When it comes to this value gap, right? Understanding what's important to you and how you value it. Understanding it may not be the same for other people, right? Their value is not the same for other people. It's time for us to pay attention not only to what our values are and to communicate that, but to watch what are their values. Therefore, we might expect that from them because we know what their values are. I have an uncle who I know quality of workmanship is incredibly important to him. So it almost doesn't matter what he gives me. Something as simple as a pen, which is what I got for a gift one year. What I knew was that was a very finely crafted pen. He was all about quality of craftsmanship. He gave me a pen because he knows I like to write. But the craftsmanship piece of this was what was part of him. So just for fun, let's see what we got. Joyce says, my sister, so you did get the footed unicorn pajamas. Awesome. Awesome. Everybody should have those, Joyce. I don't know what to tell you. And Heather, hello Heather. Heather says, my ex bought me windshield wiper replacement one year for Christmas. My best friend gave me 2 refill canisters for my bubble water maker. You, Heather, are surrounded by very practical people. Like, those are those practical gifts. See, I have a policy that gifts should not be practical. Gifts, that's not the point of gifts, is to be practical. Because if I need a vacuum cleaner or with the ex-boyfriend a shower head, I will get those. Jackie, mine was similar. My grandmother gave me clothes, overalls, when I was about 11. Very different from my idea of fashion at the time. Yeah, and it's funny how overalls are coming back into as a fashion statement. My 25-year-old wears them. I hear you. So let's talk about values, right? So let's talk about the gap. Awareness of our value gap between what's ours and what's another person. Because just because 2 people say the same thing, right, doesn't mean they mean the same thing, right? I gave the example of what does, chic, high fashion mean to you versus what does it mean to somebody else? What does expensive mean to you versus what does it mean to somebody else? That's the gap we want to pay attention to. It's awareness around not just what we say, but how we say it. It's awareness around what we mean by it. It's awareness around what it looks like. Some person's version of high fashion might be something that they buy at Macy's in the designer wear department, which is different both in price point and in designer label than what you're going to get if you go shopping on, I'm trying to think, like Boylston Street in Boston. I realize that's very local though, Rodeo Drive in LA, right? Brand names, both designer brand names, different values, right? Different values in terms of price point, different values in terms of perspective, even different styles of high fashion. And yet we say the one thing. So it really is paying attention to the details of what's said, how it's said, what they mean and what it looks like. And to get to that, it comes to asking clarifying questions. It comes down to saying, what do you mean by that? Expressing your own values explicitly and with examples and asking them to do the same. Now, I'm going to talk for a minute about love languages because we've talked about love languages before. I have other Training Tuesday sessions on love languages, so I'm happy to share that with you guys without going into detail on it too much. But here's the thing about love languages. There's 5 of them, and there's a quiz, and I'm happy to share that with you as well. And if you haven't seen the love languages training and you want to copy that, drop love language or drop the word love in the comments. And I will forward that to you. Specific training around love languages and what they mean at work, how to interpret them, because I go a bit deeper into that. What I want to talk about here with love languages is that is the framework that we're talking about, right? The love languages is the framework of understanding how somebody likes to receive recognition, what they mean by recognition, what it looks like, sounds like, feels like. When we can identify that, now we know how to connect with this person on their level. And if they can identify ours, they can do the same. So what you want to get familiar with is, what's your boss's love language? Is your boss somebody who likes to sit down and spend time with you one-on-one? Are they somebody who makes regular one-on-one meetings with their entire team because it's all about having that conversation, making sure we connect? Their love language might be quality time. Does your boss prefer instead to shoot emails and do IMs to communicate with you more heavily that way? Do they give public kudos all the time and it's over email or it's in the company newsletter or any of those channels? Might be words of affirmation matter to them. Does your team member, somebody who works for you, do they respond well when you give them words of affirmation? When you say to them, that was a fantastic job, and their response is, what do you need from me next? Or you say, that was a fantastic job, and they're like, yeah, thanks. Because what they really want from you, perhaps, is quality time. Let's schedule a meeting. Let's go to lunch. Maybe what they want from you is acts of service. Hey, thank you for doing that. You did a great job. Now let me do this for you. Let me take something else off your plate, or let me hand you a new project. Put that on your plate. Maybe it's gifts, right? Gifts is a love language that we really are shy, I will say, about acknowledging it's important. Gifts are things like that plaque, something tangible that relates to value, that showcases value, right? So maybe it is a plaque or a tombstone that says you were part of this project, you did a great job. Maybe it's money. Money can be considered a tangible gift. Maybe it's the company sweatshirt with the logo on it. Right? Gifts are not a negative when it comes to love languages. I just want to spend a moment on that because so many times we interpret it, oh no, it makes me materialistic. That's not what it's about. This is about what are the ways we most interpret and receive recognition and reward. And if truly getting the company sweatshirt makes you happier than the blast email going out saying you did a great job, then guess what? Gifts ranks higher than words of affirmation on your list, and that's okay. There's no judgment around that. The 5th love language is physical touch. And that's a little bit less maybe in today's politically correct corporate environment in particular. But the thing with physical touch is it's a gesture. It can be a gesture of reassurance. It can be a handshake and an introduction. It's comfort, it's support. The result is around connection and trust. So while physical touch may be a love language we use a lot less in the work environment, it doesn't mean it doesn't have a place at all. It's just one we use more cautiously. So I want you to think about the 5 love languages. That's quality time, right? So time in meetings, team building activities, time you spend communicating with other people, sharing the vision. Quality time is about sharing the vision and connecting and motivating and creating understanding of expectations and building trust. That's 1. 2 is words of affirmation. So that is praising somebody's work. That's accepting another person's point of view, right? Acknowledging a difference of opinion. Also sharing a vision. It provides validation, it provides motivation, a feeling of being heard and understood. Love language 3 is acts of service, helping someone with their work. supporting someone, bringing them food and sustenance when they're working late. Being a cheerleader also inspires trust, inspires connection, provides inspiration, actually. Gifts, appreciative gesture of recognition, something tangible that they can look at and go, this person thought of me. And that's what this is all about. Validation, connection, motivation. And then there's physical touch, which is all about connection and trust building. So when you think about those 5 love languages, your homework is to spend a little time paying attention to whether you have a boss, whether you have a team of leaders that you interact with. Watch them. Typically, how they deliver recognition and respect is how they want to receive it. We tend to show love according to our love language, as opposed to paying attention to the other person's. So your job, 1, is to recognize what's yours. What are your top 2? You have all 5, and if you take the quiz, Gary Chapman's quiz, the 5 love languages, you can Google it, easy to find, free quiz. It takes 5 minutes. It will rank for you where your love languages fall. You can think about how that interprets in your work life. But your homework is to pay attention to your working network, to your leadership team, to your peers, to the people on your team who work for you, and determine what's theirs. So watch them when they are showing someone else recognition. How do they do it? Is it by praising them verbally? Is it by sending an email and letting the rest of the team know? Is it by offering to support them? By bringing them coffee every day? Is it by giving them something, right? They bring in a coffee mug. They hand over the pair of company logoed socks. We were talking about that earlier today, so socks are on the mind. But pay attention to how everyone else around you is showing the way they give respect and recognition, and you've keyed into what is most likely their love language. Because most of us don't have that level of awareness where we are so keyed into other people. We often deliver based on our own. And I see Jill. Jill received an Amish-looking outfit from an ex-boyfriend. That's interesting. Didn't want to wear it. And then some hot chicken hot clothes came up to me at the bar and asked if that person was my boyfriend. Uh-oh. She said he was hitting on her while you're dressed head to toe in an Amish outfit. This is nice, Jill. Now that's a story, Jill. Guys, if you haven't read Jill's comment, you need to read Jill's comment. That's a story. That's a story that requires your ex-boyfriend maybe talking to a therapist about that whole situation. That's funny. I can't even begin to guess why he wanted you to have that outfit. That's pretty funny. And yeah, another example of misaligned values and expectations. And I'm not sure he knew his own in that case. And oftentimes, unless we're consciously thinking about it, we don't. Okay, so watch your boss and your leadership team. Watch your coworkers. Watch your team members. Also, watch the company. What are the company values when it comes to how the company overall rewards its employees? A lot of companies do actually have a preferred method. Some companies have like an internal rewards program where by doing good works or aligning to company values, you earn internal dollars that you can spend at the company store. Others have a very proactive system of giving public kudos. Right? Most companies, somewhere embedded in their culture, is their own way of giving recognition. And the reason to pay attention to all of these things is to figure out, are you in a workplace that aligns with your values? Are you in a workplace that is going to recognize you and give you the respect that you're looking for based on how you want to work, not just on how they want to work? And if the company or your boss's love language when it comes to respect and recognition is not in alignment with yours, can you live with that? Is it okay with you to get plaques and public emails for the rest of your career or for the next few years that you're at this particular job, when in fact you'd rather have a bonus and paid time off? These are choices we make. It doesn't make them good or bad or right or wrong. It means that when we have fuller awareness and understanding of the work environment we're in, of the people that we're working with, and of what's important to us, we can make conscious choices. We can make those decisions that are in our own best interest. So that was what I wanted to talk about tonight, about smashing obstacle number 5, which is speaking the same language. The bottom line is we don't. Even those of us with the same value of, let's say, my top love language is quality time. So even those of us who have quality time, the way that we might think about quality time might be different. The way we interpret that might be different. So you still want to get clarity of what's under the covers of that for ourselves as well as for the people around us. That frames how we make connections, how we understand the people we're working with, how they understand us, how we choose then to interpret how they communicate with us. It just covers a whole lot of ground. So if you are still wrestling with smashing this block of understanding communication, opening your awareness to other people's love languages as well as understanding your own, more than happy to do what we call the 15-minute mini dig. It's a free 15-minute coaching call. We're just going to focus on one key issue and get you one step closer to achieving your goals. It's a free coaching call. It's not a sales call. I can't sell anything in 15 minutes like that. But it is designed to help you get one step closer to the goals you're trying to achieve when it comes to gaining recognition and respect you deserve. So if you'd like to take advantage of the Dirty Girl mini dig, drop the word dig in the comments and I will reach out to you over Facebook Messenger and we'll schedule that call. If separately you need the workbook that goes along with this series of smashing the 5 blocks for respect and recognition, drop workbook in the comments and I will make sure you get a copy of that. So I think the 3 cues I gave you was 1, write the word love or love languages in the comments and I will send you the love languages training. Drop the word dig and we'll do a free 15-minute coaching call, a Dirty Girl mini dig. Or drop the word workbook and I will get you the workbook of these 5 obstacles to smash for recognition and respect. Jill, I'm glad it happened decades ago, by the way. I'm glad that's not a recent story. So, my friends, that is the end of this particular series. If you have other topics you would love to see me address on Training Tuesday, as always, send them my way. You can post them in the group as a discussion. You can send me a Facebook Messenger message, however you're comfortable talking to me. Do reach out. I always take topics under advisement and try to make sure we address in this group the topics that are most important to you when it comes to how do you advance your career, how do you create this nebulous work-life balance so that you are living a life you love and the life you want to live. Have a fabulous Tuesday night. It's great to see you all tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.